Hi, welcome to Jazz Guitar Courses Online. Here are the 10 essential, easy to get started with jazz playing jazz chords. Now, there are 5 basic sounds for jazz chords or for extended harmony, and all the other sort of chords are sort of in a way built from them. So they're very, very important to learn, and we're going to learn them from the E string root note and the A string root note. They are a major 7 chord, which is this major 7 here. So we have major 7, we'll do it at C on the E string. Actually, let's do it at A, it might be a little bit easier. So we're going to have our first finger on the 5th fret of the E string. Now, in these chord shapes, because they really do lend themselves to being opened up and more advanced things later on, we're going to mute the A string. Right, you see my first finger's muting that. And then we've got the 6th fret of the D string with our 3rd finger, 6th fret of the G string with our little finger, and the 5th fret, same as the first finger, on the B string, and that's a major 7. You might have heard that sound before. Right? It's a major 7 sound, and it's 1, 3, and 5, and 7, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Major 7. The next one, like I said, there's 5 main sounds, so we're going to do them off both strings. That's 10 easy, good starting jazz chords. The next one is a 7 chord. Now, most people already know it like this. If you get your standard bar chord, take your little finger off and play it at a bar, that's a flat 7 note. So our 7 chord is first finger at the 5th fret on the E string. A string is muted by the first finger, like the previous chord. Then you have the 2nd finger, same fret, D string. You've got the muted one in the middle. Incidentally, that muted sound is a big sound in jazz, especially for the old gypsy sort of... Right? Anyway, we've got first finger, 5th fret, E string, A string muted, first finger, 5th fret, D string. Then we have our little finger on the 6th fret of the G string, and our 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the B string. That's a 7 chord. It's also called a dominant 7, or sometimes a dominant chord. It's the blues chord, right? That's a 7 chord. Incidentally, once again, you can play it like that. Your standard bar chord, take your little finger off, there's that flat 7 sound. And the theory is 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 7 chord. The next one is a minor 7 chord, very funky chord, very jazz chord. It's like this. Now what we do is we're all on the same fret. We use our 3rd finger to grab at the 5th fret for an A minor 7. We're going to have a 5th fret D string, 5th fret G string, 5th fret B string, and then we're going to have our 2nd finger come over the top and play the root note of A on the E string, the 5th fret E string, so that's 5th fret E string, A string muted, 5th fret D string, 5th fret G string, 5th fret B string. Very funky chord. And the theory behind that, I just drop that flat 7 then to a 6. It's a very funky thing to do. There's a little... That'll work with a lot of funk jams too. Anyway, the theory behind that is 1, flat 3, because a flat 3 makes something minor, the 5, and the flat 7. Incidentally, these voicings that I'm giving you, which is where each the 7 or the 3 or etc. are very much a big part of really good jazz sounds. The next chord is called a half diminished chord, and it is also called a minor 7 flat 5. On a chord chart, and this will all be in the PDFs, but on a chord chart it can be written as a circle with a line through it. You'll see that on the PDF, it'll all be written and explained. Now it is basically, if you get our minor 7, we just did, and then you drop, that's where the 5 of the chord is, that's our 1, our flat 7, our flat 3, and our 5 from minor 7. If you drop this B string note down to the 4th fret, so you've got 2nd finger, root note E string, you've got the A string muted, you've got 3rd finger, D string, 5th fret, you've got little finger, G string, 5th fret, and our first finger now is 4th fret on the B string. Incidentally, that's a minor sound, And we just did our minor 7, there's our minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished, and a diminished also has a flat 3. And in any of these shapes, anything with the flat third in it or our minors to diminished, we're using this finger as our root note finger, which is quite interesting. That's much deeper later on stuff, because this is just a real introduction to getting into some of the jazz chords and being able to get through comping through some jazz. The last one is a diminished 7, and it can be written as a circle, just a circle, like you might have, for instance, we're playing at A, so you'd have A, and then a little circle would be the diminished 7 chord. Now, to play that one, we have our second finger, 5th fret, E string on the A. The A string is muted. Now, we have our first finger on the 4th fret of the D string, and we have our third finger at the 5th fret of the G string, and then our first finger that's playing the D string also comes down and bars a little bit, so we get our first finger also playing the 4th fret of the B string. It's a very dramatic chord. Incidentally, it's a symmetrical chord. It's a perfectly symmetrical chord. So if you move it up in minor thirds, it's just all stacked minor thirds. That literally will be the same notes as the last one. It's very bit of a phenomena thing. So that was, this will all be in the PDF, but that was the 5 main chord sounds from the E string. Now, if we were, say, playing a tune, you don't want to just sort of, like, say, Fly Me to the Moon. You don't want to do that and then that, right? You'd want to sort of do that and then that, because it's nearby. So we're now going to do all the same sounds, but with a root note on the A string. So going back to our major 7, which is 1, 3, 5, natural 7, we have the D is going to be the root note now. We have first finger, 5th fret, A string. Third finger, 7th fret, D string. Second finger, 6th fret, G string. And little finger or 4th finger, 7th fret, B string. Major 7, 1, 3, 5, and 7. Then we have the 7 chord. If we get this major 7 and we drop out, that's the major 7th under our second finger, if we drop that down to the 5th fret with the bar, and that's basically a 7 chord. So it is first finger, 5th fret, A string, third finger, 7th fret, D string, first finger again using a bar, 5th fret, a G string, and little finger once again is 7th fret, B string. Alright? Another way you can play this, which is important for if you're going to get into lessons after this lesson of making our own shapes and more your sort of, you know, like your real, more advanced jazz things, we have to learn these shapes first. And so there's another 7 chord I'm going to give you. That's the 7 chord we just did, 7 sound or blues sound, which is 1, 3, 5, flat 7. We are going to have, this time we're going to have our 1 there, and our 3 there, and our flat 7 there. So we've got second finger root note, 5th fret, A string. We have first finger, D string, 4th fret, and we have third finger, G string, 5th fret again. Now that's like a 3-note chord shape, but incidentally, whatever this finger is under, that's our root note, right? That will also work from the E string. Does get a little bit muddy, especially if you're playing the older jazz with the acoustic guitars. It does get a little bit muddy using it on that. But it's a very important chord, this shape from the A string, because you can turn it into a major 7. You can turn it into a minor 7. Now let's not digress, because that's another lesson. So we've done our 7 chord. Now, you've got the minor 7 is next. That's our minor 7. So here was our first one of those 7 shapes. If you just drop this being our third to our flat 3, then we have a minor 7. So we have root note, 5th fret, A string, first finger, 7th fret, D string, third finger, bar, using the bar, with once again first finger, 5th fret, G string, and then we've got 6th fret, B string. And That's a minor 7. 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. Then we come to our minor 7, flat 5 again, which we called our half diminished. Or it can be, in this instance, like I did mention, if that was a D note on a chart, it could be D with a little circle and a line through the circle. And this is how it sounds, our half diminished sound. Alright, so it is a minor 7, flat 5, half diminished, minor 7, flat 5, same thing. We have first finger root note, so we've got our first finger on the 5th fret of the A string. We have our third finger just in the 6th fret of the D string, just coming in. Then we have our second finger is 5th fret again on the G string, and then our little finger or our 4th finger, 6th fret again on the B string. So as I'm going these, I'm sort of doing them slowly and methodically. You can press pause and whatever you need to do. And then the last one is the diminished 7 chord again, which is our second finger, on the root note, 5th fret, A string. Then we have our third finger, so second finger there, we've got our third finger, 6th fret, just 1 fret up on the D string. Then we have our first finger on the 4th fret of the G string. Then we have our little finger or 4th finger on the 6th fret again of the B string. So that is the diminished 7 chord, okay? Now these are all the basic chords and a little bit of a word on simplification. So if you see someone perhaps wants a major 9 chord, which is like a major 7 chord with a 9 on it, right? Or this sort of thing. Some people might do it like that. You know, there's a million ways of skinning a cat. What you would do is, if it's a major 9 or a major 13, you just play the major 7. The word major has to do with the 7, not necessarily the actual 13 or the 9. And it's the same with the 9 chord or a 13 chord. So basically, to put it simply, if someone wants a D9 chord, it's a D7 with a 9 on it. And if someone wants a D major 9 chord, it's a D major 7 with a 9 on it. So chord simplification, you can basically then get through some jazz and playing jazz with people with these 10 chord shapes, because once you're going, there will be more. We'll be looking. There's another video, but this lesson now is going to move into being able to play these shapes. So it's very important to know the simplification, which will be written down in the PDFs. Basically, yeah, if you have a major 9, it's a major 7 chord. Or if you have something rather 7, like say a D13, you can just play a D7. You know what I mean? And that will get you through the gig or get you through the jam session. So what we need to do is have a few chord progressions and a few ways of playing them. Now, firstly, you'll notice on the E string chords, you're muting this. All of the chord shapes that we went through, this is being muted, right? Now, in some of the old school swing jazz, that's a big sound, you know? Like I said, with other more advanced chord videos, we'll be looking at refingering all these so we can, do the advanced chords. But, whether you're sort of hearing it consciously or not, that's a big part of the sound. So if we look at, say, just the major 7, to get into being able to get the swing thing, what you want to do is practice, like obviously getting the chord, only getting the notes of the chord, which means, you don't want to get that, you don't want to get this. And you want to release the pressure with your left hand like that. Right? You can't really do it with this hand. It's not the style. That's, that would be for heavy metal. But if you have to go back and do it again, it's this one. It's the very, very first shape on the E string. And just very, very slowly, just be, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And just practice it. I mean, in some of the more old school stuff, obviously there's other grooves too as things get modern, but still with swing. People oftentimes, instead of just using this pick like this, they might have, you know, this finger, this finger, this finger for that meat of the chord there, and the thumb for the root note. And that system, that'll work. I actually put my pick in here like this. But that system will work for the D string chords as well. So if I've got an A major 7, and that, you know, here's a D major 7. Now that's for when the band's swinging along. And so for an example, like say we've got something like Ornithology, which has sort of like 2 bars of this chord here, G major 7, then it goes to a G minor 7, but it's quite fast, right? So you might have a bass, right? So you might be like, that's, you know, it might not suit the music to have a, like, which is, you know, what we just looked at. You might be better off having the, using your fingers and letting the bass walk around, especially if there's no piano. So you might have like, you know, you know what I mean? And it's, you get those sort of grooves. So you want to practice basically all of the shapes that we've just done around the cycle of fifths in, right? And I'll have that written down as well. So basically you're going to do them 8th fret E string, 8th fret A string, 6th fret E string, 6th fret A string, 4th fret E string, 4th fret A string. Learn this sequence now, because this is how pros practice their chords, or everything really. 2nd fret E string, 2nd fret A string. Then I go up from that B, or the 2nd fret of the A string, I go up to the 7th fret, the E of the A string, 7th fret A string, 5th fret E string, 5th fret A string, 5th fret G string, 5th fret A string. And then you've literally practiced them, every single chord, from every note, because you've gone around the cycle of keys. We've done the cycle of fourths. It's like a negative cycle. So you can practice them, you know, with your metronome on, with the groove as well, like. You get your metronome set and you go around that cycle. So you've got to learn that cycle off by heart, and you've got to learn all of these 10 shapes off by heart. You really must. You're not going to be able to sort of jump straight into playing chords with jazz without it. So, you know, you then do the same thing with your 7 chords. You know? And the other groove to practice is this. And that'll also be in the PDFs. So I'm taking the 7 chords around with a bossa nova rhythm, basically. So they're the 10 chords, and the order that you've got to practice them in. They're very easy, and you need to do the bossa nova feel, that da 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 da, and the swing feel, the 1, 2, 3, 4, releasing the left hand pressure. Take them around the cycle, and then move on to the practice video. So there's like a bit of practice before the practice video, but you've really got to do it to get your head around them. Once you do it a little bit all the time, it'll become fantastically easy to play all the jazz progressions, you know? So see you at the practice video.